accomplish. So if you guys wouldn't mind just like maybe 20, 30 seconds about, what it is that you do or what it is that you're looking to do. And then I can kind of help cater some of my content around that as we go, I guess.
Yeah, I'll start. I'm interested in real estate investment. So besides that, we're doing this group motivational stuff, and I would like to learn more about online marketing. And
Okay.
I know for a fact if you do want to grow in any type of business nowadays, you have to learn about online marketing. Otherwise, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely a big part of the landscape of marketing today. It's such a critical piece. It's kind of transformed over the past, 20 years, I guess. But cool. Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Charles.
I'm Charles Nguyen. I'm a financial consultant and also a financial educator. I educate entrepreneurs on how to make, manage, and multiply their money.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you.
Michael, go ahead, Michael.
Hey, Eric. Good to meet you. I'm Michael. I work in biotech right now, and really stoked about this industry that I got in. And as far as goals, one goal over collecting next year is I want to buy my first house, so get into real estate, moving to Florida soon, and my dream is to open up a cafe one day, restaurant cafe.
You said open up a restaurant?
Yeah, a little restaurant, or like I'm kind of thinking like a beer and coffee like chill spot. Whether if you have food or not, I'm not sure, but I would like to make something.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
I can go. Everybody, my name is Gary Yao. I'm a real estate agent. My plan towards the future is that I would like to expand my lead generating and conversion, and I would like to do that online. Therefore, just piggybacking on what Armando said, is to learn how to get more leads online, and I get into profession. The ones that I cannot take care of, I would like to refer that to other agents. This is why I can exponentially create more wealth and create more wealth for myself. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
So we'll kind of kick this off unless anybody else, did I miss anybody? Let's see.
I haven't gone. I was waiting to get called on.
There you go, Rich. Go ahead.
There you go.
But I'm Richard. I'm a chief of staff. I've been in the tech space for a little while. Actually gave notice at my current employer, so I'm a short-lived chief of staff. I'm going to go on a sabbatical, and on the other side, I'm hoping to come back either as a COO, early stage co-founder, or do some micro private equity type of play where I just buy a business and manage it. So for me, it's just more about knowledge. I like being around all these motivated people that you see around here.
Yeah.
But for this session, I'm just absorbing anything that I can. Knowledge is power.
Awesome. Sweet.
Rich. And then Charlie and Ryan, you guys want to go? And then we'll kind of kick her off.
Ryan could go first. No, Ryan won't go first. I just stepped in, so what's happening? We're just doing an introduction or what?
Just a quick intro and what, if anything you're working on that pertains to online marketing, if maybe any specific question to kind of gauge where to take the talk.
Okay, dig it. My name's Charlie Compuesto. I am an entrepreneur and a world traveler. I'm actually based out of Salem, Oregon. Right now, I'm chilling at a park trying to make sure we get some good connection there. So this is my hood, my office today. Questions pertaining to marketing. I've studied a little bit of online marketing for a while, so I'm just hoping to see if anything comes up that you guys can offer, that sort of deal. I just chimed in the middle of people's introduction, so I don't really know the format. So is there a particular format that I'm missing out on, or something
No.
I should?
No, you're
You've
good.
already spoken. You've already spoken
All
too
right.
long. We said 20 seconds. Come on, Charlie.
Do your thing. Do your thing, y'all.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, man.
Ryan, you want to give it any quick intro or what's up?
My case. Hi everyone. So actually, I don't do anything of this business, no, like marketing online. I'm just a beginner here, and I'm open to much knowledge.
Cool.
And yeah, I'm doing some stuff, but very beginning. Okay.
Very cool. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, I'll kick us off and just do a quick intro of my really good friend Eric. Me and Eric met at one of the best place to meet people, Craigslist, and we became roommates and became really good friends over the years. We lived in Orange County, California, in Huntington Beach, where Eric started in selling real estate, and then he saw, and I'll let him talk a little bit more about this. He saw a potential in a business for online marketing geared toward real estate. Since then, he moved back to Houston, Texas. He started his own online marketing company geared toward real estate. And then now he is the director of production at Abstract that works and produces projects in virtual reality and augmented reality. And Eric, the last thing I'll say is me and Eric, we were kind of talking about this presentation. One of the funnier quotes, this is to give everybody a little inspiration that we can all do this. As I was talking to Eric, Eric said to me, he goes, "I hate people and I'm not a social person. Marketing is about being social. And so if I can pick it up, any one of you can." So with that, Eric, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess hate people is probably a little strong, but I wouldn't say I'm a people person at all, which is kind of funny because like Will had mentioned, I kind of got into real estate. I did that for about a year in California when I was out there at the time. I know I can't remember your name, but there was one fella on here that is a real estate agent, might be Gary. But yeah, so I was out there doing that in California for a year, and it was interesting. Cold calling, door knocking, like all these things that push me outside of my comfort zone, especially not being the kind of person. I'm not sure if you guys have personally met Will at all, but like that's a guy that could talk to a wall for hours and have a two-way conversation somehow. So I don't know how he does it, but I know it wasn't for me. I wound up transitioning into more of a digital marketing role with a real estate company back in Texas that I worked with previously. At that point in time, I was in charge of their digital marketing along with their director of marketing at the time. Did that for about a year and a half. Really kind of focused more on like the online lead generation strategies with that. And I definitely can relate to specifically the real estate side, as obviously that's kind of where I went next with sim marketing. So from there, just kind of had business for a couple of years, and then I wound up transitioning away into this new venture. But I kind of want to lead this off by not only that quote, I think that kind of is a good summation. It's like, if I can do it, anybody can do it. But I also want to say, like, I'm not a guru. Like what I'm going to share with you today is just stuff that I've learned along the way. Being in the marketing space and doing the consulting business and doing that type of thing, like I learned a lot and applied myself to that area. But this is by no means like the end all be all. So just kind of, putting it out there. I will share today some things that I wound up coming across along my journey, which I think are relevant specifically. I know a lot of people like to talk about like viral content, and like that's often like synonymous, and a lot of people's mind, it's like that is online marketing is going viral. And I'll kind of talk a little bit about what makes a viral video or what helps people share your content and grow organically. So yeah, I think that's kind of really it off the bat. But there's one thing that Will and I were talking about during preparations for this. We were talking about like what's the difference between marketing and advertising, and realistically, and there's probably a formal definition to it, but in my mind, essentially, marketing is anything about how you position yourself. Advertising is really more about how and where you're spending your money. Then you can add on like another extension of that to be like branding. And I guess technically branding is going back to like who you are as a person, and then going back to your value proposition of what do you have to offer and how can you be of value to somebody else. So I think those are kind of two things that are often used synonymously. People talk about marketing and advertising, but they are, in my mind, at least two different things, which is also kind of important. Now, just to backtrack a little bit onto what SIM marketing was about, because I think it is relevant. One of the things that we had found was a problem for a lot of real estate agents was that they lacked consistent branding. And real estate, you're a commodity. Like in California, at least, like I could spit in a coffee shop and hit 7 realtors. Like there was no shortage of realtors out there. So then the difference became like, how do you differentiate yourself? And a lot of times people they seem to neglect the aspect of like, hey, I'm going to build this book of business over time and build it off of referrals and relationships, but they'll often lacked that critical component of like tying everything together. Like your website should match the brochures and the website and your photo should match the presence that you give when you meet somebody, or when somebody goes into your car, you show them houses. Like everything should be cohesive and it should be uniquely you. So that was the idea behind SIM marketing, is that we actually created this branding and social, actually both branding package, essentially, where we create logos for them. We'd consult with them about, the best pictures to take. And, instead of having the stuffy, like, suit and tie, back shots, headshots or whatever, it was a more of like a personal approach because the people are working with you specifically. So we basically help them navigate that process and create a brand for themselves, which they can then take and scale to every single one of their listings. They didn't have to think about it. It was already set for them. So anyways, so that's the backdrop of all that kind of stuff. So I know a lot of people have talked about online marketing. So for, I guess, I don't know, Will, you might be able to help moderate some of this, I guess, but from like, it's such a big, broad thing. And I want to, at least point out stuff that's somewhat relevant to you guys. I think we could probably tackle like the paid versus organic marketing approaches. So there's 2 different ways that you can essentially like build an audience, which I think there is quite a wide variety of people here, and it sounds like we do kind of different things. So like some people's goals may be to, I don't think anybody's specifically looking to be an influencer. I'm not sure, maybe.
Me, definitely me.
Okay, influencer. Okay, so yes. So if you're looking to be an influencer, chances are you're probably looking along the lines of like, how do I get my message out in an affordable way to the masses? Oftentimes, the first thing people talk about is organic marketing, which is basically just you putting out content, whether it's videos or establishing a relationship with people, and then putting out, image content or social content or whatever it is that you're pitching for your product set. That would be the organic side. You just sharing it to your network or to Facebook groups and other pages and stuff like that that are relevant to your audience. The paid portion of that gets a lot more cumbersome because it tends to change very quickly. When I was talking with Will, a portion of our business during SIM was that when somebody came to us and they said, okay, I have this house and I really want to sell it, and I'm not sure how to approach the online aspect. Like they already had the brochures, they had the door knocking and the open houses, like that's all down. And that's like the physical side of selling a property. What they really needed help with was like the website side and the, how do I push this in front of people non-organically? And that's where things like Facebook and LinkedIn advertisements came in. So I've done a lot of advertisements. I think I generated over 1,000 leads on real estate, or 1,000 real estate leads in the past. It was like 2.1 million ad impressions, almost 500,000 video views, 62,000 social clicks. So like that's just paid. Like in order to get it out in front of people, it's about positioning what you have and finding the right audience. What I can say is that each social platform has its own audience. Like the expectation of content on Instagram is very different than the expectation of content on Facebook. It's also very different than the content that you're going to post on LinkedIn. So I think that's something to be cognizant of, is trying to identify which avenue would be best for your business or your followers, where your followers would most likely be, would be choosing the proper platform. Charlie, I think you had mentioned the financial side of things is what you're doing, your financial educator. Chances are you probably have a greater success ratio marketing to people with paid advertisements through LinkedIn. And we'll get into the content portion of that in a second. However, there are some drawbacks. Each social network has different ratios of the value to impressions. So advertising on LinkedIn is often much more expensive because the people that you're reaching, they don't tend to scroll through their feed quite as far as somebody does on Facebook, which means that there's less space for an advertisement to be shown, which means that if it's more scarce and there's less space available to show this advertisement, it's going to cost you more. They're going to charge you more to show it. In addition to that, you can also target it based on a number of different criteria. And I'll go back to kind of what we used to do back in SIM, and things have changed now because of data privacy issues and Facebook and all sorts of it gets kind of weird. But back in the day, what you used to be able to do is I could say, okay, I have a house here that this person wants to sell and it's valued at $1 million. And I could go and say, there used to be a calculation that we would do to find like the ideal buyer for that. And I think it was something like 25% of the listing price. Yeah, okay, whatever. So if I said I had this $1 million house, I would be able to go online onto Facebook and I would create this advertisement and I could say, I want to target this ad to men and women over the age of 45 who have a net worth of over $1 million, who have liquid cash assets over $500,000. Like you used to get like really granular and kind of creepy with the amount of stuff that you could do and like target people in like a 5-mile radius of a certain area. Now you can't do quite as much of that based on the way that, like I said, the data privacy and the whole stuff that. So they actually ripped out a lot of those different criteria. However, you can still do that to an extent. So I guess the point of it is that when you get into the stage of doing paid advertisements, you're able to actually pick and choose people that you think would be most relevant of an audience. It's not just like, I'm going to shotgun blast this out to everybody. It's just going to show to, all people out there. But that gets into, that can get into like a really, it's tough because like I said, it's such a wide thing. Like I could run that rabbit hole down to infinity. But if it's not specifically relevant, I'd hate to like harp on that. Yeah, so I think that's probably a good start, is just understanding like the differences between the different social networks, understanding that there is a paid aspect, there is a non-paid aspect, the organic reach that you get by just posting out to your page followers. So say I had a Facebook page and I had 1,000 followers on my page. If I posted a piece of content out there, it's actually really unfortunate because you're probably going to reach maybe 3 to 5% of those 1,000 people with every piece of content that you put out.
Of those 1,000 people that are already following you, potentially?
Of those 1,000 people that are already following you. What Facebook has done now is part of their offerings, because there's a number of different, they call them objectives, how you can like choose how your content should be seen. So just high level, that would be, if I had a video, I wanted to get as many people to watch this video as possible. I would create an ad on Facebook that was called a video views ad. And it would target people who are likely to view that content for at least 3 seconds. That would be very different than what they call a boosted post. And what that does is it actually, say you post a video on your Facebook page to your 1,000 followers, and you get the typical 3 to 5% of people that actually see that piece of content without you paying for it. So that's great. So you got 30 to 50 people that looked at it. Assuming nobody shares that content, that's where that number is going to stay, or 30 to 50 people. If you boost the post, that's you saying, I'm going to put $10 on this post, and I want this to reach more of my audience or I want it to reach just more people in general that interact with content like this. And you got to understand that like any of these social networks, the amount of content that they are gathering from you is just insane. Actually, good question here. So has anybody here seen the documentary on Facebook or on Netflix called The Social Dilemma? Okay, Ricky, we got a few. Okay, that's awesome. So basically, everything you scroll through, they're timing, and they can see exactly how long you looked at this, and then they're putting it into their algorithm. They're saying, okay, this content you scrolled right by, so we're not going to show them that. And you stay on another video for a little bit longer, and they say, okay, well, he stayed here for 30 seconds, so he likes that. Let me show him other things that are similar to that. So they're gathering all this information about how people interact with the site, and whether that necessarily serves the purpose of your advertisement is the debatable part. And that's where it gets very convoluted and confusing. Yeah, it's just such a big topic. So like, there's a number of different categories of being able to put an advertisement on Facebook. So like I said, video views is one. Another one's lead generation, where somebody will click on an advertisement, and then it'll pop up with a little mobile box, and they'll say like, enter your email address, and you'll be able to get this piece of content or whatever it is. And that's what's called a lead generation form. You have the boosted post, which is when people interact with your piece of content, whether they like it or they comment it. Like that's the metric that they're working with to charge you money. But oftentimes, especially in real estate, people look at boosted posts like, I'm gonna put $100 on this. My listing is gonna get shown to all these different people. And yes, it does get shown to all these different people, but how many people in here have scrolled through Facebook and there's usually like a couple people in your Facebook feed that just seem to share every piece of content that's, funny cat videos, or it's just, I don't know, just random videos. I know I at least have a couple people in my feed that used to do that. Now they've been snoozed, but there are people that just seem to share everything. It's like, I don't even know if this person's watched this before they shared it. Well, that person would be grouped into a bucket in Facebook's database, and they'd say, okay, this person seems to share a lot of content. I don't know if they're actually doing anything with the information that whether actually interacting with this one way or the other. They just share it. So that is who, when you post a Facebook boost, they actually take and pull from that bucket, and they say, okay, well, this person interacts with stuff. And it has no bearing on like my $1 million listing that I'm trying to sell. It's just pulling in all these people that, according to the algorithm, interact with content a certain way. So getting into advertising, it sounds like advertising, especially with these social networks, you have to be very intentional about your approach and how you are planning to market and the specific objectives that you're looking to use. And this isn't really just information that I'm like speculating on. Like, this is information, what I'm telling you is straight from Facebook's like how to advertise on our platform. And when the first time I read this, I was like, whoa, that completely changes the game for me. Like it buckets people in different ways and how they interact with things. Like if some person shares something, they don't watch videos, then my content's not gonna be seen in certain instances. So it's actually really interesting from that perspective of being intentional about where you're spending your money, especially if you are putting money into the hands of these companies. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, a good overall on that side. Do you have any questions so far? We can talk about some viral video stuff next.
I was just going to ask you, do you want to break down some of the things that create and makes a viral video so it's something that somebody does want to watch?
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so there's a couple things that going viral, and a lot of people have this grand idea that they want to go viral, and they spend a lot of money. Like there's companies that spend a lot of money to try to go viral, but the reality is that it's not right for every business. So if you're a local company and maybe you have, like one of the gentlemen here said, he's looking to eventually have a coffee shop or a shop that serves food. And if you have a local restaurant, it doesn't really serve you to go viral in all cases, because I can't sell a cup of coffee from Houston to somebody that's in Seattle, at least not right now today. So going viral might not be the best use of my time as a marketer for a small business establishment. Now, however, and I'll kind of pivot back to the viral video stuff, what would be really beneficial to those companies would be to try to generate as many reviews, as many local reviews as physically possible. And that's on all platforms. That's Google ratings, that's Yelp reviews, Foursquare, if that's even a thing anymore. As many reviews as possible, and keeping your constituents happy. Like that's the end all be all from what a local establishment should be able to create, or that should be their focus for marketing. Now, going back to the viral video side, and if you do think that would be relevant to what you're trying to accomplish, there are a few things. And the first one would be evoke some sort of emotion. So like, think back to the last video that you shared with somebody. Chances are it evoked some sort of emotion from you, whether it was like, holy shit, like this is amazing, you got to see this, I can't believe this even exists, or like, man, this was so funny, I have to share this with you, or this would be perfect for somebody else. A viral video, the essence of it evokes an emotion of some kind. And the way that viral videos spread, it's not likes, it's not comments, it's shares. Shares are the ultimate thing of social content. If you can find content, when you post it, you think to yourself, does this evoke an emotion, and is someone likely to share it? Those are really two great metrics before you post any piece of content. And honestly, even before you start creating content, like when you're just brainstorming ideas about what to create, those are the two things I would say, or first thing I would say, evoke emotion. This one kind of goes into it, but it's be innovative. Is there a different way you're doing something? Or is there some surprising component to say like, oh, I've always done something this way, but you can actually do it another way instead. The third one would be on trend, which was actually really interesting because at first I was actually really cool because you can see the trends as they're happening and you can start to kind of predict trends, which is actually pretty funny because I was talking with Will a couple of days ago and I was saying, you know, Twitter, you can actually see like their list of their trending items and all the things that are trending, but like significant events like the presidential debate, we're not going to get to the political side of this or anything like that, but the presidential debate is like a gold mine of content. Like if you were looking to go viral, and it's funny because I think it was that night, or I think it was that night.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was that night that the presidential debate was happening. It's like at the end of that debate, someone should be sitting in their office, staying up all night. If they're trying to like put out comedic content, they should be staying up all night doing a bad lip reading of both of these guys, and then just blast it out first thing tomorrow morning, and then see where it runs. And then I think, what was it, 2 days or yesterday, you wound up sending me. It was
yeah, exact same thing.
It was a 25-second clip of Joe Biden walking out to the 8 Mile Eminem rapping on stage sequence, and Biden was like, they mashed up his words, or what he was talking to Eminem's role in that. So it was like, and it had what, 250,000 shares or something on it at the point in time. Like, anyways, the point of that is be on trend. So if you are looking to do something that is, I mean, financial is kind of tough because there's not a ton of trends. What you probably could do if you're being on trend is there's a guy that actually does updates on the stimulus packages and the, you know, where things are at. And he just does research throughout the day and then he puts up a video. The guy has like 750,000 subscribers on YouTube now. And all he does is he's just providing updates with something that a lot of people are interested in. So be on trend. And then the last one is click potential. Content is not king, click potential is. So as much as we all hate clickbait titles, I can tell you I probably click on more clickbait titles than I do on actual content titles. So, and titles in and of themselves are a very important piece to creating good content that people watch. And there's statistics behind that, even on like the email side. If you're doing email blasts out to people, if you don't have an engaging or compelling title, something that makes somebody think like, I wonder what's in that, or I wonder who that guy is. It's probably, even if you have the best content in the world, if they're not going to open the email, it doesn't do you any good. So click potential. Content is not king. Click potential is. So those 4 things. And honestly, like the evoking and the emotion is probably like the top takeaway, I would say. If you're thinking of putting content together, that's what you want to focus on. Let's kind of go away from the, let me think here. How do I want to do this? I'll do one more thing on this before I transition, and remind me, because I want to talk about funnels and people that are interested in building a book of business online and how to go about doing something like that, because it's very important. But the one thing I do want to say, I'm sorry, I'm going back through some notes. And actually what I'm actually looking at for some of this stuff is there was something back in the day, it was called Jump Cut Academy. And they actually put together, it was not a ton of content, but they put together some really great content on marketing, which is where I actually pulled some of this viral video stuff. And that's just great information. So if you are interested in that, like I said, I don't even know if it's available anymore, but these are just notes from stuff I had back in the day, which is why I'm looking on this side. One of the things that I would say as well is if you're looking at this and you're like, well, you know, I don't have a huge budget, or I don't want to go down the road of paid advertisements on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever it is, but you're really dedicated to making fantastic content. And you also have that, you know, click potential. The one thing that I would say is there is a way that you can like growth hack your way into success. Now, I have not personally done this. This is something that was recommended through this other course, but I definitely advocate the method that they would go. It just was never really relevant to what I was doing for my clients back in the day. So say you have a piece of content, and what's like I'm trying to think of like a category that would be a good one for this. Financial might be tough, but for the sake of this, I'm going to say, let's go the financial route. So you have this amazing piece of financial, this amazing video that you put together for financial content. And maybe you have, you know, 200 subscribers or followers to your Facebook channel. One thing I would recommend doing is definitely post that organically. You know, you should have a business page if you've got followers. You have a business page for your content, but as well, you can post content periodically to your personal side. Just, you know, you don't want to spam people necessarily. But if you've kind of pushed this content out, you're like, okay, well, great. I got my 3 to 5% of people on my 200 followers to see it, which comes out to, I don't know, is that 30 people, something like that. But you're like, I just created this. I spent, you know, hours putting this together and editing the video and making sure it's tip top. Well, it doesn't have to end there. Like, what you could do is find pages that are similar, because as much as every other page and business page out there is searching for content to share with their followers, it's something that you can provide. You've just created this valuable piece of content. So what I would recommend doing, and what these guys recommend doing, is going to smaller pages. Like if you've got a viral piece of content, maybe not start with BuzzFeed, but maybe if there's other, you know, if there's other Facebook pages that have, you know, 5 to 10,000 followers on them, you reach out to those people directly and say, hey, you know, I've got this, I've got an amazing video. It's picking up some great traction right now. I thought it'd be a great fit for your followers too. Check it out. Let me know what you think. And if you're interested in sharing this content onto your page, just, you know, give me a follow back and just mention me in the comments. And that's all you have to do. And then leave the fate with them. And the thing is that's nice about Facebook is, you know, you can't really share my screen or anything like that specifically, but if you go to Facebook and like there's groups about just about anything. So, and there's business pages that you can search. So when you search something, you can search by business page or by groups. You could find pages that appeal to whoever your financial audience is, and just do some Facebook Googling essentially. And then you find these groups and then just reach out to them. So by doing so, what you can then do is kind of parlay that into the next level. So if you've got somebody that has 5 to 10,000 followers on your Facebook page, and they actually do pick up your piece of content and share it out, well, chances are they thought the content was valuable and they shared it. Now what you can do is you screenshot that piece of video content on their page. You say, hey, look, these guys posted this piece of content. It was relevant to their audience, and we think that it'd be relevant to your audience, Mr. Facebook business person page that has 30 to 50,000 followers. And then you keep doing that same thing. And it's a good way to actually get a piece of organic content out in front of people. And all you have to do is just ask. They may say no. And if they say no, that's not the end of the world. Go back to it and pick up a new piece of content and, try it again. But it's definitely a good way to kind of like growth hack your way into a larger following, even if you don't have one. And if paid advertisements isn't specifically an option or an avenue that you want to explore. Okay, so that's a good one for that. I want to kind of talk a little bit about funnels and growing a followership or a base. Realistically, if you have the best content in the world and you don't have anybody to share it with, that doesn't really do you a whole lot of good. So the one thing that I would suggest is, if anybody is interested in doing some sort of like online marketing business or anything like that, figuring out what your value proposition is. Like, what makes your content specifically valuable to somebody? I can give you an example for myself. So now I work with a company called Abstract. We do a lot of software development and augmented reality and virtual reality. What we did is we kind of looked around at and I should also say director of production, but we're a small company, 10 people. I'm also like their marketing guy. So what we did is we actually looked at other AR and VR providers in our space. And we saw specifically on LinkedIn, because that was kind of where the best audience for who we're trying to go after was, the professional audience, decision makers. What these competing companies had put out were basically like guides to learning about AR and VR from the bottom up. And the nice thing about AR and VR, I guess the troublesome thing about AR and VR, is that such a new industry that people don't specifically understand it yet, or they may conceptually understand what it is, but they don't understand how to apply it to their business. So oftentimes, like, that burden falls on us as a company. Like, we have to help people along in their buying journey and help them discover, like, okay, this VR project actually could be really valuable to you because it could shave an hour off of training time for each one of your people. And if you add up the amount of time it takes and the average cost for that person, it actually builds up to a significant portion of money over time. And we help them through that process. So what we did was actually create a piece of content. It was an augmented reality crash course. And it doesn't have to be a super long document or anything like that, but it is a piece of value that says, hey, if you don't know anything about augmented reality or virtual reality, this is going to give you the bottom up. Like, here are the main players in the game. Here are the headsets that people use. Here's where industry experts are expecting the trend or expecting the industry to go in the next 3 to 5 years. And it's kind of starting to build the case for why AR could be relevant to them. Same thing would be like, okay, well, that's the next step. Even if I consciously understand, like, okay, AR is actually really cool, but how do I use it? So you could actually either put in the same document or have a separate document of, like, okay, well, if you're in the aviation industry, this could actually really help with the inspection procedures by identifying different components on a piece of an engine, so they don't have to reference a tablet or context switch off of a piece of paper and a clipboard. They just have this device on their head, and that they can actually point and say, okay, it's there, or it's not there, and then make audio notes and stuff like that. So it actually helps them along in the process by showing them, okay, how can this be used in each industry? and you go through different industries, aviation, you energy industry, you go, whatever else there is out there. This comprises a document, which is kind of essentially what you'd call a lead magnet. This is really like your big piece of content. It doesn't go bad. What you consider this really is like evergreen content, which again, it doesn't go bad, or at least it won't go bad for a couple years. And this something represents your value proposition. So for the people that I'm actually targeting, which are people that are considering doing an augmented reality project, this document would probably be pretty valuable to them. And ask yourself, like, if this document would be something that they would give up their email address for. And now we're starting to talk about how to build a list. So you then take that document and you put it on a landing page, which a landing page is just a basic website or basic one-page website. It usually strips out the headers and it says like augmented reality crash course. This is what you're going to learn, high level. Enter your email address to download it now. I'm sure you've probably entered your email address into many forms that are similar to this in the past. And that's what they're doing. They're capturing your information with a piece of valuable content or valuable to you content. And they're basically leveraging the ability to contact you again about their services by grabbing that email address. So anybody that's interested in these online marketing businesses, that is a critical piece. And then you start getting into, how to get it out in front of more people, where you get into like the SEO side, which is a long-term play, or you get into, again, like for us at least, like LinkedIn marketing and putting it out on an advertisement where we're just targeting specific people that we think are going to be our most likely candidates to purchase or do a deal with us, I guess, eventually. But yeah, it's like that's the core tenet of starting to like build a list, is to have pieces of content that are valuable. And once you have one, like you can't stop there. Like we've got one for augmented reality, we've got one for virtual reality, we've got one for software development. Like we've got stuff out there for all these different things. And so we're trying to expand our reach to as many people as possible and provide them valuable information to bring them to us.
Wait, Eric, can you what was the term you used for that valuable piece of content? You called it a magnet.
That's a lead magnet.
Lead magnet.
A lead magnet.
When you think about these lists, let's say that you've already built critical mass, maybe you have 1,000 people, and then for every additional person that you bring, what do your comms look like to these people? Do you just push new content to everyone at the same time, or do you kind of give everybody kind of a unique journey, and how do you manage that practically?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can do it, and depending on how many leads you're getting in, like if you're getting 1,000 leads in a week, like the system that you have to like build for that has to be a little bit more robust, because you start getting into the territory of like, if you've ever gone to any website, say like packsun.com or something like that, and you put something in your shopping cart. So then you left the site, you didn't actually purchase the thing, but somehow you got an email that said, hey, remember you were looking at this thing in your shopping cart? Are you still interested in this thing? You can do the same thing with emails. So once you put 1,000 people into an email management system, like MailChimp is actually a good one. I think that gives you your first 2,000 contacts free, your first 2,000 contacts, email contacts. You can actually create like automations. So as soon as someone signs up on the list, they'll send out after a day or immediately, I guess, an email that says, thanks for downloading this piece of content. XYZ is what we do, and we're here to help, and let us know if you have any questions. And that's where we leave that one. We're not asking them for anything there because we want them to digest the content. So a few days may go by, and then another part of your automation may be email number 2, where you've got a second email that goes out automatically that says, if this person opened it, we're going to send them this one. And if they didn't open that first one, we may send them a different email. So you start branching off, and you kind of create the path for the specific user that you want them to go down. So if they're engaging with your content, you may want to show them, hey, if you like AR, you might also like VR too, and see if they can kind of go further into your web. Like the idea of getting that email address from that lead magnet to start with is to get them in your web. And then once they're in your web, you can kind of help like navigate them to the middle, was where you really want them. And that's to the point of they're receptive to talking or having a meeting or purchasing whatever product it is that you're selling.
Yeah,
so you can help guide them through that.
That makes a lot of sense. What about so thanks for sharing all that detail. Like how do you test things out? Because I'm sure like you're probably trying to figure out all these workflows, and you probably monitor things like churn, like you try some things and you go like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Like how do you think about doing that sort of testing and learning?
Yeah, so there are things that you can do. It's like A/B testing or split testing, where, you know, for instance, instead of just sending, when that person signs up for that piece of content initially, instead of having just like one email in that automation, you might have 3. And in that first one, you might just say, hey, thanks for downloading this. And that second email, they might say, hey, thanks for downloading this. If you want to buy whatever it is, XYZ product, click here right now. And then you may have a third variation that does something else. What you do is essentially these systems like MailChimp and other ones. I know we use Reply, which is different, reply.io, which is another email management service. But what it'll do is it'll actually give you statistics about, okay, this person opened up this piece of content, or this person didn't open up this piece of content. And you can kind of start testing them against each other and to see, okay, well, email A got a 10% open rate, where email B only got a 5% open rate. So realistically, we're like, okay, well, let's scrap email B and let's go with email A. Yeah. And then you can introduce a new secondary, split test off of that first one to continually test and try to refine. Because, we're going to keep the 10% one that's converting, but if we introduce a new one and this one now converts 12%, well, this one is the one we want to use now. We're going to get rid of the 10% one. So there's ways that you can do it just by split testing different emails and kind of seeing what results you get over time. And there's sites out there, like I said, reply.io is a good one. At least it shows statistics from one split test over another split test. And there's probably plenty of services out there that are very similar to it. So, cool. Yeah. Any other questions so far? Awesome. I don't know. What do you think, Will? Where do you want me to go with this?
I was kind of thinking on the back of my head. Do you have any big kind of books you'd recommend to dive deeper into this?
Yeah, actually I do. Okay, so this is actually one that I'm a fan of. My dog ate it, actually, unfortunately. There's parts of it. But what it is, and take this with a grain of salt. It's called .com Secrets. It's probably backwards. It's called .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. And the nice thing about this one is that he actually goes through and kind of walks you through some important things about where buyers are throughout the different steps of their purchasing process. So I mentioned before that, we're creating content abstract about educating people, where we're assuming that these people that are interested in augmented reality or virtual reality, they don't quite know much about virtual reality. Mm-hmm. That piece of content might not be really relevant for somebody that is much more in tune with what AR and VR can do. They're just trying to see more about what we as a company can do. So there's different stages. Wherever your buyer is in the process, there's different stages, and you market to those people differently. Now, one thing I will say is that this book, this actually is the first step of this guy's funnel. He created this book as a lead generation magnet, and it's actually a phenomenal lead generation magnet, because what he does is at the end of this book, he's, basically it's like, oh, sign up for my seminar and we're going to take you to the next step, take you to the next level. But along the way, he actually provides a lot of great information about scripts and about specifically what I think is probably the most valuable piece of content is you're creating the hero mentality with this. It's a really good one. And I'll kind of explain the hero one here. If you ever signed up for anything, this is a really popular one in self-improvement. a lot of the gurus that you see online that are commonly pitching you, they'll follow this kind of formula. And they'll basically say, yeah, you know, maybe it's like an exercise regimen or something like that. You're like, yeah, you know, I was sitting on the couch on Sunday and it was football season and I just sat there all day, just pounding pizza and beer. And, you know, I was 250 pounds, I was overweight, I didn't really have any, you know, motivation. And then like something changed in me. I was like, you know what, I'm going to get off my ass. I'm going to go do something today. I'm going to go for a run. And he talks about his journey from like how he went from the 0 to hero mentality. And every one of his emails in his email strategy that you're obviously on his list now, every one of his emails is about like how he got over a new hurdle in his journey to this transformation from what he was to what he is now. And all the gurus are out there they're just selling transformation essentially. But it actually does a really good job of breaking down like how to like structure that. And it does a really good job creating like a compelling case for connecting with somebody, because it is much more relatable to pitch somebody that way versus just like, hey, you know, I've got this amazing new workout regimen and it's going to help you shave off 10 pounds in the next 10 days. You know, like it goes at it from a different angle and it helps get them emotionally invested with you as almost like as a peer almost. And they kind of like, okay, well, I can really see myself getting through this process. So I'd highly recommend that. There's tons of different like strategies to go about positioning yourself as, you know, the person that can help guide them from what they are to where they want to be. And I think oftentimes that's like when people make a decision or they make a purchase is at that point in time when they've made the decision to actually switch. So it's a very valuable thing, especially in like that guru space. I can definitely see that being a valuable piece in the financial side of things and helping people make that realization and telling that story. One thing actually, I was just scrolling through and I saw it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It was actually really good. I was like, man, that's actually really smart. Okay, so he had said, I learned from Dagan Smith that you always start any good story at the point of high drama. So I know I've seen emails like that come through my inbox where the first line's like, you're not going to believe this. And then the second line or the first line of the body is like, and she walked out on me just like that. And now I'm hooked. I'm like, what did you do? Like, I got to know, like, take me to the next level. And so like hooking people in at that dramatic moment could actually be really valuable for guiding them in to hear what you have to say and then guiding them to how can you help them transform. So
I don't know if this goes with this, Eric. Do you want to just kind of on that concept, talk about the 3 pieces, what I note here, things to take into consideration while creating content, what people think of people you follow and making people laugh, learning from something from them, and you can see yourself being them?
Yeah. Trying to see. Oh, yeah.
That kind of fits into that hero thing of.
Yeah, very much so. It's you know, are you relatable? Especially this is like going for like influencers and stuff. A lot of like blogging or vlogging people. Like think about the people you follow, either to get your news or, you know, if you vlogging is super popular. So actually I had a buddy of mine that was from California and he just started vlogging and he talked about like how he like moved away from California and he's like never coming back. And it's Sunday and I just want to like, I hadn't connected with this guy in a long time or anything like that. And he popped up in my feed. He actually requested that I follow him on Facebook, which is actually a really good thing for you guys to be able to do because you can invite people to your business pages. But yeah, so he requested me, I found his content, and there's basically 3 things that if I'm following somebody or if I'm really interested in what somebody has to say, or even if it's somebody that I've never met before, there's typically a reason why you continue to listen to this person's content and to tune in and watch them. And Will had basically mentioned them. Like one of three things. They're going to make you laugh because they've done it before and you like watching it because it's entertainment. You learn something from them because they provide you great content and you see how you can apply this to your life and you come back for more information. Or if those two things don't even register, you can see yourself being friends with that person. Like if the person is relatable, or if they just seem like a normal person. That's oftentimes like you can kind of boil it down to any person that you follow to one of those three things, or maybe multiple of those three things. But if you're creating video content, those are definitely things to keep in mind because that's what people look for when they follow you. So are you making them laugh? Are you helping them? Are you teaching them something? And are you being relatable? Can you be, or do you see yourself in a position where you could be their friend? Or how can you elicit that feeling of you being a friend? And oftentimes that's just being real. It's just being honest. A lot of times people have this like they have this natural like salesy thing, and in blogging, what that's typically called is like finding your voice. And it can be actually an arduous and long process for people if it feels like they're trying too hard. Like you don't want people, like you typically probably aren't following people that you feel like are trying too hard. You're following people that are like natural, and that's them finding their voice. And it comes with practice. It's not something that's going to just magically fall into your lap for most people, but yeah, those three things. So either be comedy, be funny, or teach somebody something and be relatable.
Thank you, Eric.
So, I'm trying to see if I've got anything else that I would like to share here. One thing I'll mention is that about the quality of content. People really get caught up with like, I need to have like the fanciest camera, or at least I've found in the past, and my audio has to be perfect. Like it has to be such a perfectly refined piece of content before I put it out. And I know I haven't put out a ton of content myself in the past, but I mean, I've done video editing and stuff for our clients in the past. The reality is that they don't care as much about the production quality as you probably do. There's tons of viral videos that are out there, and this is kind of a poor example, but there's tons of viral videos out there that are actually done on camera, on like phones that have like potato quality cameras. Like it's just really bad stuff. Like it's super grainy. Like think back to like E-Bombs World days of like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago or whatever. But it doesn't have to be great. Like if your content's good, people will watch it. People will connect with you. Like it's about you and what you're saying more than it is about like how you look. Like you're looking at me right now. If this was HD or not HD, as long as you could hear what I'm saying, it doesn't really make a huge difference. Obviously you prefer it to be HD, and you probably prefer it maybe not to be HD because you don't see all this, but it's probably better that you can hear my content that I'm saying rather than see me physically. So yeah, it doesn't have to be great, fantastic quality. Like most phones nowadays, like these phones have like phenomenal cameras on them. You just get like a tripod, a portable tripod that has like those arms that move around and stuff, or get like even a GoPro with a gyroscope if you're walking around creating content. Like video, like real estate stuff, that's actually super applicable for it. Walking around and having like a steady cam type thing is what I'm talking about, where you're walking with it and you don't feel the camera shake when you're viewing it. It's just like it's stationary. It's amazing technology actually. And it's not super expensive. So if it's something that, I would recommend spending the money if you're going to make a concerted effort to actually create this kind of a content. But yeah, no, the last thing I'll say, and we can open it up to any questions if anybody has anything, but last thing I'll say is if you browse on YouTube and you're going to put content up on YouTube or Facebook or any of these sites, one thing that's really often underrated is the metadata. And what I mean by that is it's often like the title of the video, like we talked about earlier, it has to be engaging, it has to promote some sort of level click. It doesn't have to be like completely clickbait, but there has to be some level of interesting to that piece of content that is in the title. The description, like don't write a book often times. Like you don't have to do all that stuff. Most of the time people won't read it. Like they have like 8-second attention spans, which is even probably generous. And then the last thing I would say is the thumbnail. So the thumbnail of how the video looks as a still image is actually one of the more underrated things that you can do or pay attention to, I guess, when you're creating a piece of content and posting online. Definitely take the time. There's plenty of free services out there. Canva, canva.com is one. You can actually create free content. They actually have, you log into it and it says, are you creating a YouTube thumbnail? And it says, yes, I am. And you click the button and it gives you the exact dimensions. It'll spit out the exact dimensions of that image that needs to be when you upload to YouTube. And you know, if you haven't been paying attention, pay attention the next time you're on YouTube, because you'll see that typically the content that performs well will have an interesting thumbnail that usually has big block text on it, that has some sort of value proposition, or that same similar title that hooks people into your content. Super relevant no matter what you're doing. If it's putting content on an intranet, essentially, so like a non-public, so say you have like a website that has a bunch of training courses and you log in to get to that content. If you even have a thumbnail that is somewhat interesting instead of just the same, like, you know, like square that you see of me right now, if it's just me and everyone that's just like, you know, and there's 20 videos in there, you're not gonna be able to tell the difference. But if it's just me doing this and I've got text like all in this area, it tells me about the different video, it makes it somewhat interesting to me to click on it, I'm gonna probably be more enticed to click on it. So don't underestimate the value of thumbnails. Highly recommend it. Doesn't take a ton of time to do. Canva.com is actually a really easy place to put that stuff together. So yeah, that's what I've got. Unless I can think of anything else, I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know if you guys found this useful. I hope you guys did. And like I said, this is like, I've got nothing to sell you. I don't do marketing or anything like that privately anymore. I just, you know, I do project management most days now. But I think the tenets of being able to create stuff and even the way to position things and understanding, like, marketing is pretty much about like the why. Why is it relevant? And sharing that and being able to communicate that, like that's 90% of marketing right there. So before you do anything, post any content online or create any videos, think, why is this relevant to somebody? How can this help them? And if you're creating value, keep creating content. Like, don't get discouraged. There's a lot of stuff out there that's just, you know, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and your content will get discovered eventually. So.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, man. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Does anybody have any other, maybe more specific question or broad question or anything like that?
Hey, Eric, quick question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I have been posting contents on my Facebook and on my group. I do real estate topics. And so far, I started last month, and I think I posted about 20 videos in the last 30 days, Monday through Friday, for the last 4 to 5 weeks. I have been boosted. I have been boosting each video for $1 each video for 10 days. That means that each video, let's say, is going to be boosted for 10 days. 20 videos is going to boost it for a whole month, or, you know, moving forward. How long do you think it would take me to get some traction? Because I'm looking at it. There's I asked them to subscribe, and I think the people are not subscribing. They just watch it. I see that they're watching the video, but they're just not subscribing. So
Yeah.
obviously, I'm not despairing. I just want to see how long it would take, because I continue doing this for as long as I can, like maybe for the next year.
Yeah. So, so you're boosting videos.
Yes.
Do you have listings right now, like real estate listings that you could promote?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would recommend doing is definitely, if you're going to spend money anywhere, I would spend money on the listings that you want to promote.
Okay.
Because that shows people that you're actually doing business. I don't, like I said, I'm not a huge proponent of the boosting, because I feel like it's paying for Facebook's algorithm in a different way. It's like when you boost a post, you're basically paying for people to like and comment more than they are to necessarily subscribe to your content for more. I don't think there's specific long-term value in that. I mean, maybe there is from like a branding perspective, but I just don't think it's relevant enough for me personally to like spend money going that route.
Okay.
What I would recommend doing is investigating they're called lead ads, and use that more as an objective. And you're going to have to dig into Facebook's, like you can boost a post right from like your main page. Like that's the thing that Facebook wants to push because it's so easy to do. But what I would encourage you to do is actually dig deeper and go into what's called the ads manager portion, and then create your ads through that method instead. And then you can actually choose from these different objectives. And what I would do personally, and this is what I've done in the past to help generate leads, is you can even take the listing. What state are you practicing real estate in?
California, Los Angeles.
Okay, so you cannot disclose prices of properties or something, or prices of closed listings you cannot disclose, right?
I can disclose how much I'm listing it for.
Okay, so the list price, but you cannot disclose any closed prices of like previously sold properties.
No, that's okay too.
That is okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When I was practicing, like that was a big no-no. Like they wouldn't allow that or something like that. Maybe I'm remembering Texas or something. But what I would do is people specifically in real estate, they're actually really interested in what other people's homes in their neighborhood sold for. So what I would say is if you have listings that you've sold in the past, I would probably actually leverage that and target in an area of maybe 5 miles. That might be generous in California, but you might even go like 1 or 2 miles depending on the number of people that you can capture, and say like, this home just sold in your neighborhood. And I'm trying to think of the text we used to use. It was like, this home just sold in your neighborhood. Click here to learn how much it's sold for.
Okay.
And you give them a little bit of information. You have like the picture of the house on there. So they're like, okay, well, yeah, I can see that's just down the street from me or something like that. And then they click, and when you can either direct them to your website that has that piece of content, or if you have listings on your website, I guess, or you could just direct them to a landing page that you've created that says like, this home is, sold for X, Y, Z or something like that. But what you're really trying to get after is you're trying to grab that person's email address. So you've got the piece of value. The value is the dollar amount that home sold for. And that's what they want to know. So the question is, are they willing to give up their email address for it? And if they are, that's great, because now you've got somebody that came to you and said, hey, I'm curious of what this home sold for. And they don't do that by accident. People that are interested in homes in their area that are selling, they're probably considering selling. And maybe some point down the line, they're thinking, okay, well, I'm kind of just kicking the tires at what the market's doing. And in order to get more information, you want to grab that person's information so you can follow up with them. And you can kind of take that step to being their point of contact for, hey, I noticed that you're interested in this house, sold price. There's actually 10 more homes that sold in this immediate area. Would you be interested in those and learning more about those homes as well? And now you can follow up and make that connection with that person and start developing a relationship. So I would go at it more like the value that you have as an agent is not specifically towards like all the content that you can bring, which is great. Definitely keep pushing it out there because it shows that you're active and you're touring properties and you're knowledgeable about what you do. I just wouldn't spend my money on those specific videos. I would spend my money on the ones that are going to generate me leads.
Yes.
And I think the ones that generate leads are going to be anything that relates to your listings.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else?
I got to run, but I want to thank you, Eric, for taking the time to share this with all of us. And while I'm not working anything directly right now, it's helpful to learn more about it. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you guys, if you have any questions, like I said, I'm happy to help. Like I like doing this kind of thing. It's good for me to help share some of this information that I've gathered over the time. So if you guys have any questions, like Scout, you can pass along my email address. These guys are more than welcome to just email me directly, and I can help out wherever I can.
Sweet. All right. Thanks, Eric. I'll see everybody. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody.
To you.
Yeah, Eric, I'm working on my digital marketing right now. I'm actually creating a white paper for, I guess, a series of product and service that help business owner with protecting their profits, right? Okay. And So I learned to really focus on the problem that they're having, and then kind of like tell the story on how do I resolve, multiple set of the problem. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now, and creating the opt-in pages, and then from there, how do I create like little, video content that address something, highlight on whatever the solution, or highlight the problem or something. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. That's definitely a great start. Yeah, the question for you would be at that point would just be, identifying where your target consumer is likely to be reached.
Yeah.
If you have specific, business owners in your area or something like that, I'm not sure who you're specifically targeting, but if it is business owners in general, or if you have a specific like subset of business owners, you can go at it a bunch of different ways. But yeah, you're doing the right things and creating that basic content. Yeah, just go back to your value prop and how you can help them the most and tell your story. It's really the best.
Right now, I'm focusing on manufacturer company that have a certain range of revenue. That's because I already have a case, a case study that geared pretty much for them. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's awesome content. I mean, like, people, especially like what you're getting into, like, people are much more interested in results. Like, I wish we had great case studies to share with people that, like, from our stuff that we've done with clients on the AR and VR side. Unfortunately, it's actually really difficult to get a lot of that information out because a lot of those companies like to hold it pretty close to their chest. Mm-hmm. But if we had case studies, like, that would be a phenomenal piece of content to get out in front of people. And I would be targeting people on LinkedIn all day with that if I was, if I had that stuff in my back pocket. So that's awesome. Cool.
Hey, Eric. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff. I have a question for you. So let's assume I'm a real estate agent. I'm just starting off and I want to be able to get clients. What would be the best way?
Oh, okay. So it's actually really funny. So this was me like 5 years ago. The way that I had wanted to go about it, like, I took like a very analytical approach. And considering, all right, let me back up. First off, like, your network is the number one way, always. It's always your network. So your sphere of influence is what they call it. So who do you know, who they know, picking up the phone and talking to people, that's absolutely number one. If you find yourself in a situation where you don't have contacts, then it's cold calling, door knocking. If you want to get a little more scientific about it, what I did is you can actually pull results and pull information from, I don't know what they call it in California, but basically their MLS system. And I was a real estate agent in Huntington Beach, and I wound up finding the areas in Huntington Beach that had the highest amount of turnover on properties. So I wasn't interested in like the super luxury properties, just because like those people are very well connected and they probably already have many, many capable agents to work with them already. I was going after the bread and butter, the ones that turned over really fast. So anything, at least in California, that was low price, which was like $400,000, $500,000, or basically anything less than that. So I found the area that had the highest amount of turnover, and then I ran that number against the agent market share in that area. So I wanted an area that an agent didn't specifically dominate. I wanted one that I could go in as an outsider and potentially go in and grab market share in a high turnover area. So I think some of it comes down to like how you're targeting who you want to market to, because if you're going to be cold calling and door knocking and spending a lot of your time canvassing an area, then you really want to give yourself like the best shot in order to get your foot in the door. But ultimately, like, if you can get your first listing either on the buy side or the sell side, like, you market the hell out of that thing. Like, that's everything. Like, if I have a listing that I just got and it's a $400,000 condo, I'm going to get blown up in the next 2 weeks by agents and other people, and potentially even buyers. Once it gets out and syndicated to all these like Zillow and Truly and stuff like that, I'll get buyer leads coming in for people that may not be represented and looking to purchase this property. And I believe in California, you can double end listings, which I'm not sure how that's like, I don't understand how that's not like a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
But what you could do is if you've got 3 buyers that come in, you can actually refer those buyers out to other agents within your office. And if any of those end up closing, then you'll get a commission check for that referral. So you market that listing like it's like the only thing in the world that you have. And that's typically where this, you know, the action starts coming in.
Right.
And that will help avoid the having to constantly go out and hunt and kill, or eat, you know, eat what you kill type situation. It's not going to solve it completely, but it definitely will help make the most of the times when you have listings.
Thanks a lot. And final question would be, we started a accountability group, so we want to make that group grow. What would be the best way?
So how are you helping it grow right now?
We are reaching out to all friends, people that we know, and also we're going to move to a different method soon, which would be requesting all members to bring new members.
Okay.
But just wanted to get your thoughts. What would be the best way to make the team grow as far as networking, or as far as using the information that you were producing today?
Yeah, so I don't think I would go the route of like, you know, like documents or anything like that. People aren't going to be interested in that. I think the value in what you bring, yeah, the value of this group, I think, is what you mentioned, what you're already doing is the referral aspect. So your biggest advocates is going to be everybody in this chat, you know, in this video feed right here. Like these people are going to be your best bet at going out and finding other people that are like-minded or that you think would benefit from something like this. And that's really like the best thing you could ask for as a business or a company or an organization. Like you want advocates. You want people that will live and die for your cause. And like I feel like the people that you have here are your best shot at that. To help grow that specifically, I would also create like a Facebook group, like an actual page on Facebook, and make it a closed group. And that way you can direct people to it. It's actually a good place to have community discussions about problems that people are having, to update people on new events, you know, upcoming events or something like that. But yeah, like having a community on Facebook is actually a really good way to do it, or, you know, whichever site or social platform that you want to go. It's not something I would put like paid advertisements on specifically, unless there was some sort of like monetary aspect to it. Like if you started doing like a one-on-one coaching type thing for a fee, that might be something that you investigate more like a business model. And then that might open up the door to having some sort of like paid advertisement component to it. But right now, I think the way that you guys need to grow, or would be best served growing, would just be by continuing to do what you're doing with the advocates that you have, and just continually asking people if they know somebody that would be interested in joining the group, or that they think, you know, could be a good, because at the same time, like when you start growing, like you don't want like 100 people in the door right away, because it's going to be very difficult to manage that growth. Like you almost want it to kind of scale a little bit naturally until you kind of get the systems in place to say, okay, well, we can only best serve 50 people at a call on a time, because otherwise there's just too many questions that people are answering or asking, and they just don't get their answers. So I think it's something that you'll learn as you grow, but advocates would be the best way forward for you guys. And then definitely create a Facebook group if you don't have one.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
You have great knowledge, man. Great knowledge.
Thank you. Yeah. No, like I said, I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything, but like, if I can share what I can share, like I'm happy to do it.
Thanks, Eric.
This is
I have
great.
a question.
Okay, Ryan. Yeah.
I'm from Brazil, you know, and I teach English to Brazilians and Portuguese to foreigners. How can I get new students from abroad, like the United States or any other place, in other country?
Okay. So are you part of an organization right now, or is it just you that you're kind of doing this for?
Okay.
Okay. What's the format that you're doing these? Is it like a one-on-one?
Yeah.
Is it like a one-on-one video session, like a coaching, like a private coaching session?
Yeah, kind of. I actually use WhatsApp, the applicative, to put all my videos and the text daily. And then once a week, I give private class.
Okay.
Just like a teacher, you know?
Okay. I'm having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if it's like the.
So what he does is he uses he sends videos, private videos. So he works one-on-one with the students, and he's teaching them how to speak Portuguese and yeah.
Okay. So you're doing like a one-on-one type Zoom type call with somebody. It's like a private coaching, private tutoring type session. Okay. Yeah, what I would do is, how are you marketing right now? Is there anything that you're doing specifically to like how did you get your first client?
Actually came by accident. You know, my first client was Brazilian. I teach her English, and it's been 1 year so far. And she came to me because I know her father. I know in here, so he was my client from other work.
Okay.
Actually, mouth to mouth, you know, like speaking to people and other stuff. I invited many people, but they don't come to me. Actually, bring them free content, you know, and just the first step, and then they decided to come in.
Okay. Okay, let me think about that.
It's hard.
So what I would do, honestly, and it's funny because I was actually talking with my buddy yesterday about learning a language, and we were talking about Spanish specifically. Yeah, there you go. All right, that's one way to do it. But I would say a community aspect would be really good. I know one of the things that he was expressing, he's like, you know, in order to like learn things, I could go on like Duolingo and I can get like a good base of knowledge. But what I lack is the interaction, because some ways that I'm learning things are like not the ways that it's not like common conversational ways of doing that. So I think, especially if they're all learning the same language, it might be a good thing to, I would say build a community. Like Facebook communities are kind of good for that. Language is a tough one though, because you can't really type that so much. I might have to think about that one a little bit, because that was a little tricky. I mean, I would definitely be posting organic content. Like if you don't have a Facebook page already for that content, I would put something out there and start posting to that. You can invite your friends, like definitely, like you said, like your advocates. Like there's probably no better advocates in your life than the people that, maybe not Facebook specifically, but your family and friends. I would start by asking them if they know of anybody. Always start with your sphere of influence. You may have people that are in need of your services that they just don't know that you do it. So first off, just telling people what you do if they don't already know, that's a really good start. But as far as getting new clients on that stuff, like it's tough because there's like, I feel like the first step naturally for somebody that's willing to learn a language or looking to learn a language is they just open up the App Store and they figure, okay, well, I want to learn Spanish, and they end up downloading like Rosetta Stone or, you know, Duolingo or something like that. So like, that's what you're competing with. You're competing with the convenience of these different apps that they can provide this information to people almost instantly. What you're after is somebody that's looking for like a more in-depth type thing. So there's actually, well, that might not work either. There's actually a company that's called like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Facebook could be a good start. I used to have a page, but now but now it's I think it's lost. But it was Brazilian, no, American Facebook. But now I don't have anymore.
Okay.
But,
is there?
I didn't used to get more students, so just one or two.
Okay.
And I think the page didn't reach too much, you know, we're wild. So
yeah,
you have to pay for Facebook.
Try to think of like what kind of content that you could like really create with that, because a lot of it's really like valuable only to the person that is interacting with you at that one point in time. It's not like, I mean, what you could honestly do is you could, here's what I'd probably do. you could start teaching basic lessons and posting them up on YouTube. So like do some basic classes. And I don't know what the the curriculum looks like for learning a language specifically, but like if I found, if I was looking to learn a language and I went to YouTube and I said, I want to learn Portuguese, chances are I'm going to hit the first person that pops up, and they're going to be talking about like, oh, here's what I can teach you. And, we're going to start with this, this, and this, and this. And they may have like a free playlist or something like that has like 10 lessons. And it's like, here's your level 1. And it says 10 free lessons. And then level 2, you could have like your intermediate or something like that. And you can kind of like start building a bunch of like mini content pieces. And maybe it's like 5 minutes a day. And then that could be your pitch. It's like, okay, learn a language in just 5 minutes a day. And then you're putting up a video every single day. Like, I feel like for you with like a language speaking type thing, consistent content is going to be really good, and putting out as much of that as you can. Like I would probably post once a day, doing that minimum, and keep posting it out to like your Facebook. I would put that on maybe not LinkedIn. I would definitely put that on YouTube though, and start getting it out that way. But then you're going to run into the issue of how you're going to market that. Like I feel for you, content is definitely going to be the thing though, because with a language, like there's always more you can learn, which is the nice thing. Like you don't really have like a cap on like, all right, now you're certified, but like you can always learn more things. So even giving something away for free to start, that could be like the first step of your funnel, so to speak. And then in every one of your YouTube videos, you direct them to a website that has your complete course kit, which is just pre-recorded lectures. And now you're getting away from the whole coaching one-on-one thing. Now you can scale it because you've built out this platform. Essentially, it doesn't have to be complicated, but you've got videos that take somebody from A to Z, and you just charge them $10 a month or whatever it is, something nominal, and then you just scale that. And you keep putting out content, you keep people getting more views and stuff. Like it's just gonna feed itself after a while. But like languages, that's a tricky one off the start. But that's how I would probably approach it.
Okay. Thank you.
I know, Ryan, for a good example, I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to learn Spanish. It's a slow process, but I'm using Pimsleur, which is an app, and kind of what Eric was talking about. What is it? Kind of creating a lead magnet. Their first lesson on Pimsleur is free, and I know this is done on purpose now after kind of going through it. So the first lesson is free. And it's also relatively easy. So you go through the 30 minutes of this lesson, you listen to the things, they'll talk in Spanish, then English, then Spanish, then English. And at the end of it, they go, do you know how to speak a little bit of Spanish now? And it's like, oh, see, I can speak a little bit of Spanish. And, it made me feel good. I was like, oh, lesson 1, I can do this. Take my email address, take my money, let me, keep progressing. And like you were kind of talking about, Eric, how do you sit after that kind of deal? So kind of generating a free, easy first lesson to kind of just direct people into your funnel kind of deal.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, there was actually one that I came across yesterday, and I can't remember the name of it now. It was like something with an L and linguid, I don't know, something with an L. And they had an interesting thing where they basically had, and I think they used live teachers for it. And so they're obviously a bigger company, but they have like a 1 month and a 3 month sprint that you can do. And basically if you do a 1 month package, and there's 30 hour-long lessons that you complete. And if you've completed all those lessons, they actually give you like 50% back on what you paid to start. So it's not cheap. It's like $400 or something like that for the 1 month. But if you've done all of those lessons, all 30 lessons every month, or for that first month, your sprint, which is basically the equivalent of a college level class, then you get half of your money back. They have a 3 month program where if you do every day a month for 3 months, so a total of 90 lessons, 90 hour-long lessons, you get 100% of your money back. And it was like $1,000 for the course. But it sounds like, well, why would I put that amount of effort in just to give my stuff away for free? The reality is that when somebody buys a book on Amazon, 9 times out of 10, they don't get past page 10 or the 10% part of a point of a book. Like most people just buy a book and it just sits on the shelf. I mean, I've got tons of books that I buy and I'm like, I'm going to read this. And I'm like, damn, I never read that. And then I find the next book. But it's the same exact thing with learning content. Like the level of drop off when somebody starts something to when they actually like make that transformation, like most people don't get 10% of the way in, which for your purposes is actually a risk to your business, because to get people engaged and to stay engaged, like that's going to be a main factor about why are people going to continue paying for your services. Like you may have people that have already started and they're like, I just don't feel like I have time for this, or is this too difficult? I don't want to go through and continue this. Like engaging people to the point where they don't drop off is almost just as important as going out and finding new clients. It's probably more important to keep people engaged and not have to go out and find new clients all the time. So that's definitely one thing I would also keep in mind as you're like creating this business essentially, is how you're going to keep people engaged throughout the process and keep them motivated to continue to learn. Now, you know, the people that are financially motivated, yeah, a 3-month, 1 hour a day, 90-day sprint and 100% money back guarantee, there's probably going to be people that are financially motivated enough to like, I'm going to get these done no matter what, so I don't have to pay anything. And after 30 days, I've learned the tenets of a new language. So yeah, that's what I would probably recommend.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah, great question.
Very cool. Well, thank you guys. Anybody last Hail Mary questions? I keep saying that, and another one pops up, but
It's okay.
Awesome. Well, cool guys.
Cool.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. And let me speak. I'm just a guy that rambles sometimes, so I'm
Good.
happy you guys
Good.
are able to at least hopefully get something out of it.
Oh, thanks for the tips. Okay,
Thank you very much, Eric.
knowledge.
Yeah.
All right. You guys take care. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm always available. All righty.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.